And don't.
Am I up now?
You're it.
I'm up? Okay.
You're up.
I want to give you folks a little bit of background, what you know or what you don't know. I had a handout there, which tells a little bit about some of the things that we've accomplished over the last 3 years. You can look at that when you want. About 2 years ago, Becky and Sophia and Connie sat in on a 2-day workshop that we had, came about because of the governor's hometown strong selection of Robbinsville as a hometown strong community. And so we had a 2-day workshop and we all worked together. I wanted to tell you a little bit, Red Up is, we just had our planning retreat. We've been incorporated as a 501c3 for the last 15 months. We just had our planning retreat and we're honing our mission statement, but so this is pretty much what we're going to end up with, but it's probably be fine-tuned a little bit. But RevDev is the primary small business and community economic development organization serving the town of Robbinsville and the surrounding area. We serve as the vision bearers, resource stewards, planners, coordinators, and facilitators of revitalization. We work with many partner organizations to improve our sense of place, share our stories, restore pride, hope, and laughter, and build prosperity, and improve the quality of life for everyone in and around Robbinsville. So, and the reason that I read that is because I think that as the county, Becky has told me that you folks are all about tourism this year. And revitalization tourism is our largest income producing economic quantity right now. I have a little thing here from the tourism board that says that their strategic plan is to motivate increased overnight visitation to Graham County and develop and build upon a true destination brand for the entire county. Embrace public relations as a cost-effective means of marketing the diversity of the county as a destination. Revamp the destination website. Implement more online marketing to drive potential visitors. And basically that's the thing that we've seen. We have over 400,000 visitors a year, but the average length of stay is about 2 days. So people drive through the town, but they don't spend any time here. So the monies that are spent, I believe it's over $30 million a year in revenues that come to the county. And if we could increase that length of stay from 2 days to 5 days, that would maybe improve that to maybe, $80 million a year, which would be a huge boost for the county. I want to tell you that about almost 10 years ago, Ray got a grant from the Golden Leaf Foundation, and they sent, you all know that they sent people from Chapel Hill and from the Asheville Design Group, and they did a study on Robbinsville for revitalization. And one of the big things that they talked about was redesign the back of Main Street buildings. Main Street is on a ridge of Robbinsville that runs high above the rest of the town. This ridge provides views of neighboring mountains and is seen from all points on our New York bypass on 4th Street. From the back, many of the iconic buildings are eyesores as viewed from the bypass. The backs of the buildings along Main Street provide a unique opportunity to strengthen the arts of the community and provide creative spaces for public art. And then the blank wall, we're talking about the Jesse Loveless building on the square. The blank wall would provide an opportunity for the art classes at the high school and elementary school to collaborate on a mural project to represent the town of Robbinsville. The backside of the buildings on Main Street are some of the most visible structures, give off a feeling of neglect and disrepair. The creation of a mural can become a symbol of revitalization and vitality rather than decay, and can also serve as a community project to raise awareness and interest in strengthening downtown. That was from this study, which is about 9 or 10 years old. Nothing has been done on it yet. We hope to change that tonight. We also know that you folks renamed the section of 129 for Ryan Moore up here last year. I think several of you went to see him in concert in Franklin. Is that right? All of us. Everybody? Okay. And I heard that went over real well. There was an article in the paper about that. I want to introduce, first of all, of course, Michelle Shiplett. Everybody knows Michelle. She's the executive director of Gray, and also our executive director and the founder. And Savannah Mining is here from Silva. She's working on her MBA, Western Carolina, starts this fall. But she has volunteered to help Greg up with grant writing this year. And so she's done a big help. And in the back is Carol McElroy. She's an artist. She's the one that started painting the telephone poles with the flag design on Main Street. And we contracted her to paint all the rest of the telephone poles on North, South, and East Main Street with that flag design. Kind of setting Robbinsville for to be an all-American town. So that's Carol. When we started this in County War, after we worked with her, we applied to become a Main Street community, Robbinsville. And the Main Street communities in the state, there's 80 different communities in the state that are Main Street communities. And North Carolina Main Street program comes in and helps the towns revitalize. And on average, the Main Street communities are 40% more economically viable than just any other town. So we applied as a Main Street community a year and a half ago, I believe. And we were turned down. There were too many towns. There were 10 towns. Murphy was accepted. We were turned down. But we get to apply again in 2022 as a Main Street community. And in the meantime, we are working through their program. They're still working with us, even though we're not officially a downtown social community with them. And they're helping us. We go to the conferences and whatnot. And the ARC has helped us with the downtown Robbinsville economic revitalization strategy. So we wrote that after that 2-day workshop, and we worked on that for another 6 months. We're just now trying to start implementing that in the town. That's one of our accomplishments. But I want to talk to you a little bit tonight. There's going to be 2 things that I want to do tonight. I want to introduce you to our mama. Because mama's who, when you fall and you skin your knee, she fixes you all up, sends you on your way, and makes you happy. So I want to introduce you to our mama. And then I want to ask for your help to help support our mama. And mama is our program for to get a music and art mutual agreement. And what we're asking for is a collaboration between the town of Robbinsville and the county, Graham County, and RTA and the Grant County Travel and Tourism. So that's a music and arts mutual agreement. And what we want to do in this first year, we want to put up 2 murals in Robbinsville uptown. One is on the Jesse Loveless building, and the other is on the end of the Agriculture Extension building on Main Street. So the 2 murals are for Carol if you want. Carol is the artist that submitted this drawing, which is Jesse Loveless wanted us to do an abstract mountain scene that would pop but not be too abstract. So Carol came up with this design. There were 4 local artists that submitted proposals for this. Carol was from Andrews, and Jesse chose her design for the building. This design is the building is about 20 feet tall and almost 90 feet long. So it's bigger than over 2 billboards inside. But as you can see at the top, it says the adventure portal for your natural destination. And those are blamed azaleas in the 2 corners. So that's kind of a bulletin board or an advertising, like a big billboard for the county and the town, because it has both the logos, the name branding that this Reimagining Robbinsville recommended that we do name branding for the town and the county. And so we've worked and come up with that, the adventure portal to your natural destination. Your natural destination is what Greg selected for Graham Pond. So at any rate, that's the first mural. And go ahead and flip this up if you would. And the second mural is by an artist named Scott Merton. And he's from the Triangle area. And he's come up with this musicians mural trail. And he has 20 local artists from North Carolina musicians. And he has put murals all across the state of North Carolina. He has 20 murals. I think he has 9 of them are complete right now. And he wants to do a mural in Robbinsville for Ronnie Millsaps. And these are some of the murals that are done. This is a list that shows in the state where the murals go. He's got Roberta Flack and Nina Simone and Earl Scruggs. He's got Randy Travis's done. John Coltrane, Elizabeth Cotton, and Thelonious Monk. There's some of the ones that he has done already. But he's getting tremendous publicity with his work. And he says that 60 Minutes is anxious to do a story about the mural trail as well. So, and flip that up. These are some of the murals that he's already got done. That's Tryon. Here's some of the facts. Trended #1 on Reddit after a post in Australia drew 200,000 views and 1,000 comments. More than 500 tweets and 100,000 likes. 15,000 plus Instagram likes. Widespread local coverage on TV, print, and online. Weekly requests for interviews. Potentially millions of online impressions and thousands of site visits. Go ahead and flip that up. Roberta Flack, that's at Black Mountain. And the folks that sponsored her, it's a brewery down there, and they've increased their business by 20% over the last year because of that mural. So this is just some of the information. He'll cover the state from urban centers to rural towns. Tens of thousands of people have already viewed the murals. from social media and in-person visitation. It'll expand exponentially with video promotion time. The mural shop guarantees its work for 10 years. It's now a one-time event. And Carol does too. She uses DOT-approved paints, and these murals should be very good for 10 more years. It's not a concept. He's already got things going. But go ahead and flip one more. This is what he proposes. If you can see that good. On the end of the agriculture extension building. So one thing that'll be different, there's vinyl siding on the gable end of that building. And they will paint the whole building, but I think the vinyl siding has to be prepped. There's a special coating that they use to prep it to take his paint. So that's basically what we want to do this year, is to put these two murals. And together, Michelle already has a mural that's going on this end of the VFW building, which, what's the completion date of that?
Well, the artist is going to be here to start the grid work for the outdoor, for the wall portion of it, the first week of April.
Okay.
And so as soon as they get that part done, the rest of it should go relatively quickly now that people can actually be close together again.
Yeah, the COVID has stopped everything over the last year. You all know that. So anyway, what we'd like to do is be able to have 3 murals on Main Street up and running, and we want to do it as quick as we can. We'd like to get a little bit of the tourist season where we can see that, and that will increase the business traffic on Main Street. And then what we want to also do is we want to have a music festival at the end of the year, either at the end of August or September. We want to have it be a weekend event. We'd like to invite Ronnie Millsaps to come to town for it. We have a spreadsheet that has everybody in the county that has a musical talent, where they play, who they play with, what kind of instruments they play. And we'd like to have a contest and have a concert of this mountain music festival. And we want to, at the same time, have a car and motorcycle show. We want to bring in as many people as we can into the town for that event, and let that be a weekend event. Great will partner with Rep Up to provide volunteers and manage the event. We have this whole project, 2 murals plus the music festival, we can do for a cost of $40,000. Now, in your package, I think I gave you an abstract of the project, but it says $45,000. We have come in with the mural cost being a little bit under that, and so we're looking at $40,000 for the whole project. And what we propose is $10,000 a piece from Robbinsville, from the town, from the county, and $10,000 each from the 2 tourism authorities. And that will give you basically 2 big billboards that will be up for 10 years. And the cost, we like to say that we're good stewards of the finances that we receive with Rep Up. But the cost of 1 billboard for 10 years is $30,000 plus an art setup of $1,750 or $1,800. So the cost of 2 billboards for 10 years would be $63,500 or something to that effect. So for $40,000, we can have 1 building that's twice the size of a billboard at least, or larger, and another that's billboard size. And they'll be up for 10 years, they're guaranteed. And we can either bring in tourists and build the tourist industry in town and build the business traffic on Main Street. People love to take selfies with these murals. And I've talked at the conferences that I've been to with Main Street. one of the big things that a lot of these towns do is they put murals everywhere. And that helps bring people into their downtown areas. And so that's something that's a very good and viable project for us. So that's basically what we're after. We'd like you to support that project. And if this is as successful as we believe it will be, if this could be redeemed on a year-to-year basis, we could maybe bring in other murals or bring in other art installations. We could have this, we'd like to have this music festival become an annual thing. And we'd like to use it as a fundraiser to help us raise funds for our groups. One other thing that I wanted to ask the county for, Rev Duck has been together now for a little over 3 years, and our expenses and operating expenses have grown and grown. We do receive $2,500 fund from the town of Robbinsville for our operating expenses, and we'd like the county to consider doing an equal amount from the county for our annual operating expenses. But basically what we're asking for is we're asking for a $10,000 commitment to this mural project and the use of the end of the agriculture extension building to put the mural up. And if anybody has any questions, Carol is here. She's the artist on the one mural on Jesse building. And I have the manager of Scott Murphy, who's the other artist, on standby. If we have any questions that I can answer, I can give them a call and see what they say. Anybody have any questions about this?
No. If it is guaranteed for 10 years, they do come back and fix it.
Yeah, let me read. He sent me an email. Let me read that to you. The mural shop guarantees a 10-year lifespan of the mural after proper preparation of the wall and clear coat ceiling. I retain a standing contract to correct any issues that may occur to the mural, graffiti, external damage within that lifespan, covering up to 3 independent returns for corrections. It's important to note that in 20 years, Scott has only had to return to fix 2 murals. It's very rare. That's his, and those 2 photos that are there, that's just preliminary. I mean, the actual, what he actually does, we can approve before it's done. And I noticed that this one, the top of his head is cut off, and that will be corrected once the coating goes on the length. And maybe the actual mural would be a little bit different, but that's the concept. And we would like to invite Ryan Millsap to come to town for the music festival. We want the music festival to also be a dedication ceremony for the murals that are going on. Anything else?
I would like to add something. These murals, they would not only boost tourism, increase your economic impact, and be the stepping stones for a revitalization project, but they will instill hope within residents in your community, as well as instill hope in residents in outside communities who would be more willing to contribute to not only Robbinsville, but Graham County overall.
Thank you. All right, that's what we have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We don't make those kind of decisions in workshops, so.
Okay.
Do you have anything yet?
Second.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Motion to approve the agenda. Motion. Have a second. Second. All in favor? Approval of minutes, workshop regular, February 16th, special meeting, February 19th, February 26th, March 2nd. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? One to be.
Good afternoon. In your packets, you'll have a copy of the proposed block grant, HCCD for next year. We're going to start with this year's allocations as we always do, because we won't know the total true allocations is probably April, but the way the grant cycle goes, I have to be prepared now. We start out $125,423. Total including the match and the USDA funds is $152,633. And in this year's block grant, I'm proposing to set our employees at 40 hours a week instead of 37 and a half that we've been at forever. We're going to give up the speaker risk money and also 3% match. She did say that we. I said I was going to do 3% match in that. I just need to get the board's blessing to apply for my block grant.
We have a motion for Wanda to apply for a block grant. I'll make the motion. Have a second. Second. All in favor? Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, while Wanda's up there, and you're gonna see it in the budget unit, she's received a little over $10,000 in NIPA and SHIP funding, which is the senior health insurance something, program. And, she's gonna be requesting that we add a part-time position to administer that. In-house, the grant will pay their wage as well as, I think we bought a computer this past year to provide them with the resources they need. But she would need the board's approval to add that position for this coming fiscal year. We'll probably close out this year as well,
Yes.
because it's crossed
Yeah,
the
because
fiscal year.
we would like to go ahead and get someone in that's trainable or preferred trained already.
You'll actually see it in the newspaper probably coming up, I've advertised, kind of jump the gun straight up at.
Well, this, we have a part-time position.
Yes,
available
yeah.
right here.
Yeah, actually 3, yeah.
This position go away, the grant goes away.
It will go away in the grant, and that's one reason we got it as a part-time.
We have a Commissioner Cody. Okay.
I hope this would. Kim said it would. Just want to kind of bring everybody up to speed on something I just want to take and just bring to the attention of the board. Grant County Fire Departments in the county, which is Grant County, Mount Range, Sanitation, Snowbird, and Seagull. These are Grant County volunteers. These are volunteers that have done things over the years just for themselves. And I just want to take and just kind of highlight on some of the beauty of the county and what Grant County has to offer. This is the view right here from Chilliwack. If y'all are not familiar with it, this is the Chilliwack right here in the spring of 2020. This is basically when the COVID hit, and that's when everything went to the pots. Just want to kind of bring you up to speed a little bit about certain areas in the county that these fire departments have to respond to. Cherry Highway. You know, it's miles and miles away from civilization, as some people say. It's on top of the world, but they can actually see different things. And it is a very beautiful place. If you're on a bike or if you're in a car, it's a great place to drive. There's other places in the county just waiting to be ready. That's the main thing is because we have become the most popular destination, basically in the South, for people to come. Actually, they have been test vehicles brought through Grant County just to see how they would handle on the back roads and the mountain roads. One of the things is, we've got some of the most beautiful places to visit. Montana Lake, Lake Santigua, Chilla Lake, Hollywood, fishing destinations, boating. It is now becoming one of the most destination places for people to come boat and have a good time on weekends. And this is something that I wanted to share with you. Now, one of the things is, I'm not going to show you a whole lot of graphic material and stuff that these fire departments have to respond to, or each one of these members have to see. But they do respond to storms of all nature. As you know, Grant County has had a tornado, or tornadoes that has hit Grant County. Lightning storms by the dozens. House fires is common. We don't have as many as we used to have, but we still have. And one of the things is, these volunteers respond to that. And that's something that they work on. Remember the snow. This is 1993. Does that bring back any memories? March of 1993, per se. But during that time, it was basically volunteers that came out and done all the work and tried to get people back and forth where they need to be. This is something that we see on a regular basis. Trying to get up the mountain, stuck, side of the road, blocking traffic, who do they call? Water rescue. Shore River is now one of the destinations for whitewater. This is something that these individuals train daily, just trying to make it fit. How can we carry it out? Bringing up a biker from the bottom, offering their payment somewhere. But these individuals have to be brought. This is not bikers, it's also cars as well, or cars have crashed. Even we've had some people fall off the bank and have to be about it. Tree blocking the road. Grant County in you, we got a tree blocking the road. We have any units to respond. A lot of times we get that cut out before we get to even arrives. But this is a more common thing in the spring of the year and also the fall of the year when the heavy rains hit. This is something right here that we don't want to take and face. Just have to go have someone up out of the floor or fell off of a bed or somewhere. And I have to say myself, this is the most enjoyable time, is when you go help someone and they turn around and say thank you for coming. Now, a lot of these other places, there are other calls that you go on to. You spend hours and hours and you don't even get a thank you for it. But when you go and you help someone up out of the floor or help them do something, and a lot of these people we've grown up with, we know them. And this is something that we face each other. And it can be ourselves as well. Someday, I hope it's not, but someday, at least we get a pat on the back. Providing care. I'm one of the volunteers that rides one of these ambulances. I don't get paid a dime to ride one of these ambulances hauling somebody. But that is something that we provide. Next, who do we call? It's 911. My hats is off to each and every dispatcher we have, also our EMS group. A lot of people just don't understand the flack they actually receive. Some people just think it's just a job. They don't understand this is a very important organization that is providing care for each individual. This kind of just, one of the things was, you know, from time to time I have meetings on Wednesdays and stay open for people just to come by. This kind of give you a little bit of synopsis here of what happened when one fellow came by and was talking. Just, you know, when something happened to them, they call 911, but my hats is off to these EMS and dispatcher who puts them in long hours, making sure the calls are answered and putting people in the right places at the right time. These men and women need to be respected for what they do. As a person came to me one day and I told him, he was complaining because he made a 911 call and the dispatcher was asking a lot of questions. He felt like that they were being very good to him, that they were persistent, trying to find out what took place. I told him, I said, if you would put yourself in their shoes, if you would look in the background and find out exactly what happened, maybe you'd have a different outlook. Or maybe, if you know it so well, why don't you apply for one of these positions? And then you can really find out how good it is. They don't understand what they hear. A lot of times, scanner world gives us a different aspect or different outlook on what takes place. But most of the thing is what's going on behind the scenes is what really counts. And that's what really takes and gets the motion moving. Volunteers. For many years, and I imagine Keith has heard the same thing. How much do y'all get paid? I've not received a check yet. I hope Keith has. Hey, if he has, he hasn't told me.
I used to put in a raise for everybody right after breakfast.
That's exactly what I do. Every year I always say you're going to get 10% or 100% once you actually make it. And, but nobody in the rescue squad, fire departments, receive a dime for what they do. And as of right now, I've not heard one person even ask to be paid, to be reimbursed for anything that they have done. And that's a compliment to each and every volunteer. I actually had one fella on the scene one night accuse me of lying to him because he felt like that we got paid very well. I said, well, if you would like to pay us, I'll take your check right now. But due to the fact he thought we was getting money, he didn't understand why we didn't have what we have. The only thing is, these volunteers spend the same amount of time getting their certifications, sitting in classrooms as anybody that's paid. It doesn't make any difference if you're a firefighter 1, 2, EMT, all the way up to a paramedic. You have to sit through the same classes. You got to go through the same training. Don't make any difference for who you are or where you're at. You have to do the same thing. It's a standard of care. Code of standard is what each department has to do. And many of these men and women spend hours and hours in their own money making sure that they get this training. Plus what training we actually do in-house. Be able to help them complete what training they do. We are very fortunate in the city of Gulf to have a registered nurse on our staff who used to be MICN. Skip Myers was the first person that taught paramedic class here in Grant County. And he is our EMS director or instructor for us. And, he's helped me through the years. And we have had many people throughout the county that has put up a lot of hours, nights of teaching. Billy Hyde currently is teaching an EMT class. And so that is a good sign that we have people within our county. I've had the pleasure over the years to be able to attend many classes, go to different states throughout the United States to learn how to do different projects, learn how to do different things. Get certain levels so I could take and be an instructor. As one person said, why in the world did you go all the way to New Mexico to be an instructor? That's where the federal government sent me. So I went and took the class. But it is something that we are very proud of, is we try to have the best trained personnel that we possibly can to give the care and the need that each one of these people have. The standards, each department has a checkoff sheet that is provided by the state of North Carolina. Doesn't make any difference whether paid or volunteer. The sheet is the same. All those standards have to be met. Each department is required to provide certain types of documentation to make sure that we are meeting these goals. We just recently went through an EMS checkoff sheet, which we didn't have no problem. April the 26th, we face another, which will be our fire department's been checked. Which I don't see no problems on our part in that other Green County agreement. So one of the things is we have to do the same hours and the same check sheets as anybody else. The only thing is that we face is each department has costs. Each one of these volunteers have to be equipped. Turnout gear, communication. And at times, just as this individual that you see here, you're looking at around between $3,500 to $5,000 just to be able to outfit this individual. And that money's not cheap. We are so pleased that we have grants. One of the ones that we can count on is basically State North Carolina Fire Grant. The bad part about it is, our wish list has to be cut down, because we have to pay for it 100% before we can get reimbursed. And then there's times, it can be months and months before we can actually receive that reimbursement. If you don't meet the guidelines or the deadlines, that even causes them a little bit more difficult. But one of the things is, we take and try to do our best to provide what we can. One of the grants that we had received years ago was the FEMA grant. FEMA grant was one of those grants that came along, and it was difficult to apply for, but we worked for it. Sickle was able to receive it twice, but then afterwards, it became the big cities grants, because they lobbied. They had organizations, paid organizations writing grants for them that basically stated, I guarantee you will get the grant. Those funds can range from between $40,000 up to $500,000 for a grant writer to ensure that you can get that grant. But one of the things he says, oh, you're going to have to come up to 10%. 10% of $40,000 to $50,000 is a lot of money. So, but one of the things is, we do our own, a lot of times we do our own maintenance. The reason for it is because of cost. If you roll one of these trucks in one of the body shop or a mechanic shop, the dollar signs are flashing in their eyes, because they know they're going to get the money. We recently had one of our little trucks, we took it to Franklin and had to have it serviced. It ended up being in service, or out of service, for 1 month, because they kept finding stuff wrong with it. I called Joyce one day and said, well, it looks like we're going to have to go to the bank and borrow the money to get this truck out here. But one of the things was, I told the fellow, I said, this is a volunteer department. How much longer is it going to be? So I got one part left to come, which graciously he cut the price in half, because he was a member of the fire department in Macon County. My hats is off to these departments. You've got Grand County, you've got Snowbird. You got Sanitation Fire Department, Meadow Branch Fire Department, and the lights. Still. You know, one of the things is, some days I hope the tide will change, but we can actually see a difference in our organizations and make them stronger. And a lot of times, we get criticized because our equipment is old, or our equipment is running. It is taken care of. We try to make sure our equipment is in tip-top shape, but we do what we have to do. We provide, and we keep striving on. The main thing is, these volunteers are men and women, and they are our brothers and sisters. And there's a bond between each and every one of us. The only thing is, the 38 years I have been a volunteer, and 35 years as chief, I have seen many people come and go, and at times it hurts to see one leave this earth. But one thing is, I'm proud to be a volunteer in Green County, and I'm proud of these departments. Thanks to the board for giving me this time to express my concerns. Thank you.
I had a question, Lynn, about the swift water rescue. Do all the departments participate in that, or just
volunteers.
It's volunteer. When I took Swiftwater Rescue years ago, I had to go to, Mount Halem. And after I got my completion of that, I said, I don't want no part of it. It is a very strenuous class. It is hard. Terry Slaughter, I heard for Terry Slaughter. He went with us, he was in the class with us. The fellow instructor told me to throw the bag. I thought he said hit Terry with the bag. I hit Terry with the bag in the water. But he caught the rope of it. We have good times, we have sad times, but the main thing is, I'm just proud of these people. Yeah.
Most of them rapping guns is coming down to Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And running their own risk.
Okay.
So the time we get down there now, we've had 3 around that. Miss Finance Officer Manager report, thank you, Rob.
All right, I'm gonna give you the finance report through the end of February. We closed out our general fund checking with a reconciled balance of $10,935,281. That's a little bit down from this time last month, but that's expected. However, we are about $593,000 ahead of this time last year, so I'm pleased that we're holding our own. You'll see some good news later on in the report that's helped that. Our capital project fund is still at $2,181,000. I do have some money I'm going to transfer into that. We're getting about $15 of interest a month. This time last year, we were getting $2,500 in interest per month. So that shows you the difference in what's happened with interest rates being taken down. I mean, it's great when you're trying to finance something, but when you're investing, it's not so hot. And then, of course, our capital project fund for the school system is $114,000. That houses their portion of the 524 sales tax money. Our tax collections are still up. I was happy to see that on page 2. We had $191,243.72 collected in our current year taxes. This time last year, we got $144,000. So we got a nice little bump from this time last year. Our back taxes were $22,350. We had a couple of PUVs come out from under PUV, so that had to be collected. So we collected a total of $213,594 in real property taxes. Our DMV DTS tax is still nice and healthy at $49,201. This time last year it was $44,000, so that was good news. Page 4, you'll see that we have collected $6,925,505 in our current real taxes, or total taxes, and our collection rate is at 94.42, which is better than this time last year, which was 93.35. We collected a little over $170,000 more in our real property taxes than this time last year. That's helped our bottom line. And our DMV, we've collected $41,000 and some change, which has also helped our bottom line. So I'm real pleased with the work the tax collector's doing. It's going to make the job of doing the budget a little bit easier. Page 5, you'll see our revenues for the month of $1,250,452. That's the general fund. We spent out $1,361,901. That includes some debt service payments that we had to make this time. So we had a loss of $111,449. But if you look over to the page, you'll see our revenues were much lower this time last year, and so our loss was much higher this time last year. So at the bottom of page 6, you'll see that we still have a year-to-date surplus of $3,067,911. Now bear in mind, I just made the payment on P&J for $222,000. That'll come out of this month we're sitting in now, March, and then we'll have our school debt service payment that we'll have to make beginning of June. So things like that are coming up that will whittle that surplus down, but it's much, much better than what I would ever anticipate for this time during this COVID crisis. We collected a little over $1.1 million more in revenue for this time this year, and our expenditures are at a tad at 343. But that's a lot of that extra expenditures has been COVID related, for which we've been able to use our COVID funding. So that did not hit the county dollar, it hit the COVID dollar. If you look on page 7, we're getting these on the sales tax front. We got a total of $260,000 in sales tax, but part of that is our quarter cent, which I pulled that out, is about $26,000. So our sales tax that can go into the general fund for debt service for the school and then general operations was $237,282. It was up from our numbers this time last month, about $32,000, and much higher than this time last year when we only had $161,000. So we are seeing some real growth in our sales tax base. We've collected $207,000 more in sales tax this year than this time last year. And as I was mentioning, I've got about $62,000 I'm going to be putting into the capital reserve fund the next few days. Past due taxes, they're still working diligently. We're almost at $500,000 benchmark we set in 2014. I'll be glad to see that. But we're looking at basically $804,000 in unpaid taxes. When we started the effort with foreclosure, we were looking at well over like $1.5 million in back taxes that were sitting on the books. So this process has been a good way to enhance our budget without raising property taxes. Any questions on that piece of the report? Okay, on the budget report, we should have 34% left in our budget. If you flip to the last page, you'll see that we have 37%. So again, all departments are pretty much staying within our budget. We've got a couple that are running a little hot, but again, that's because we've had some big expenditures out in the earlier part of the year that has caused the budget to run ahead. Looking at it on a line-by-line basis, most all of the budgets are in good shape. And it'll be good information. We're going to be beginning budget meetings tomorrow. Any questions? I did have a couple of budget amendments. The first budget amendment I alluded to when Wanda was speaking about her programs. We have gotten SHIP and MIPA fund and general purpose fund money that's in addition to what we anticipated when we framed her budget for a total of $20,544. I'm sorry, right at $17,000, and then we've got some match on her general purpose fund that she's already earned through her jail meal and her senior meals revenue. So we have an addition to our general purpose funds of $20,544 carried by SHIP and MIPA, general purpose additions, and then the additional revenue in her meals.
We'll do both of these at the same time.
Sure, yeah. And then budget amendment 19 relates to our recovery work grant. We kicked it off in early January when we hired the peer support specialist. I went ahead and picked up the salary that this specialist will accrue over the course of this fiscal year. And then next fiscal year in the budget, you'll also see ARC revenue coming in. This is as an 80-20 grant because we're a distressed county. So the salary spike and insurance for this person is $27,383, of which $21,906 will come from ARC, and then we have the local match, which is more than covered by our sales tax and our increase in our property tax revenue.
We have a motion to approve budget number 18 and 19.
Motion.
Second.
So for my manager's report, this looks scarier than what it is. There's just a lot of bulk to the papers. I did want to go over real quickly the American Rescue Act, which was passed last Thursday. They set up the following priorities. They would establish and fund a national vaccine plan, boost funding for COVID-19 testing. They have provided $362 billion in direct state and local government support, of which $65.1 billion in direct federal aid to counties. This will come directly from Treasury into our coffers. $1.5 billion for public land counties in PILT and SRS funding. The PILT part will be totally unrestricted. I checked in with NACO and they confirmed that. That's a good news to Graham County. Don't know how much it's going to be. They're still working on the formula for that. It will also provide additional assistance for rental, utility, and homeless prevention, direct financial assistance for individuals, expand paid leave and family medical leave, including tax credits for public sector employees. Municipalities with populations less than 50,000 will receive a total of $19.53 billion through state government allocations. This will be separate and apart from the county funding, and counties will not have to administer their funding under the CARES Act. So in other words, the money that Graham County receives will be Graham County's fully. And then the towns of Robbinsville, Santigua, and Fontana will receive their own allotment through the state of North Carolina. Schools will also receive $123 billion in additional funding for K-12 schools. So how does that break down for Graham County? Graham County is going to get a little over $1.6 million. This will come in 2 allotments. The first one should come in the next few weeks. And then we'll get half this budget year and then half next budget year. Appropriate uses of the funding. The good news with this funding is it will be less restrictive. It will be broader for local governments than the CARES Act was. So this will help us to respond to any negative economic impacts in the local economy. And as I get more information on that, I'll be passing it along. We'll respond to workers in essential jobs, allowing for premium pay. And that's not just in the local government, it could be in the general economy. Respond to losses in local government revenues. That could be anything from taxes to rec fees. So, or, if you're having a shortage, what I'm going to have to do is analyze all our revenue streams against the June 30, 19 fiscal year. And if I can see a decline in any line item of revenue, then we can pull that money in to offset that loss. And then we'll allow local governments to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So it's going to basically geared toward helping the economy recover. I put a synopsis that I prepared. I think I gave this to you in front of your special meeting, as well as just some selected slides out of the NACO presentation, just for your information. I've also asked for Jason Marino to come and give just a report on the capital projects, so I'm going to give the floor to Jason.
Good evening, everyone. If you look in front of you, I put some papers that's going to represent capital projects and some of the things that I've been working on that since we last met and agreed on. Since then, I've been soliciting quotes and estimates on the work that we have agreed the county needs and how we want to press forward on the 3 major capital projects, which is the Graham County Board of Elections new office renovation, the Graham County new Recreation Department building, and the new Cemetery Department building. As you look at your first one, should be the Board of Elections. The left column of the information and numbers on the left side, the left column would represent some of your pre-COVID numbers. When we first started putting packages together with the plans and the estimates that came from the project manager's office, so that we had an estimate to compare bids once they came in. The new shaded area on the right will be showing you the new cost estimates as they come in, as I receive them. Some of the numbers that have not been filled, I anticipated having for tonight's meeting, but after reaching out again to them, they were not able to provide those numbers directly to me by the close of business today to get it to you. Obviously, I'll continue to try to pull those numbers for plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and some other estimates or quotes to compare before we start the actual, what I would anticipate, the framing, especially with the board elections, as we look for the first one. I would call attention to the board of elections, and I think Commissioner Wiggins and I discussed it some, and we mentioned it the last time. I'd like to, during the rest of this week, get with Manager Garland and also Gavin and look at what our capabilities are to start demolition of the board elections like right away. Renting a debris dumpster, have it set outside, see what our internal employees are capable of doing safely. I want to be sure that we're operating in a safe environment, hard hats because of demolition, safety glasses, those sort of things. Hearing protection, ear pro as we call it, if needed for cutting any other thing. So I just want to make sure we're set up safely and legally we can go forward and even use some of our occupants of the jail as Commissioner Wiggins and I discussed. So I'd like to be able, with the board's approval and getting with Manager Garland.
This column is materials, and this one is labor. Is that
That's correct. Yeah, and the left one is sort of pre-COVID, so understand. I wanted to give some perspective as to where we came from and how we got our numbers pre-COVID to have an estimate to go with to compare once we solicited bids. This was for 4 bids. Now I'm trying to go out and get costs for several things. And I should be able to break this down a little better once I start receiving more, because the renovation's a little harder, and almost, since we're not going in bids and we're looking at doing quotes or estimates, it's going to be more of an hourly rate based on a structure of time that we're going to want them to complete it under. And so I'll break that down a little bit better as we move closer to getting, I want to be able to get some more numbers to compare, basically. If there are no more questions on Board of Elections, we'll move to new Recreation Department. And basically, it and the cemetery are basically the same kind of format and layout. Again, your left column is going to show you our pre-covered numbers. And believe it or not, some of those numbers are pretty close to what I've been receiving for like civil site work. Unfortunately, the major items like the metal building is not. And you'll see that as we go through this. And I can show you right now from what, if you look at what I've laid out on the right side where it shows the cost of the PEB, and this is from one vendor. I'm still waiting on 2 other vendors to get a price on the metal building, which I expect this week. Then you move down to the installation, the erection of the metal building, putting everything together, topping it out. You have your site work, storm, the seat, then foundation, which would include your footers, concrete, rebar, and then some site utility work, which is all your primaries coming into the facility, just stubbing it in. For the recreation department, we're at 107,270. And again, that's post-COVID, but it's actually kind of what we talked about last time about trying to get those costs down. So we're looking at right now, we could possibly have that building standing for that amount of money. 30 by 64, 1,920 square feet. It's actually not a bad price. And then the same would go over to, if you look at the next document, for the cemetery building, which is 30 by 50, 1,500 square feet. That's at around 82,770 to get that stood up. Now I'll continue to get prices for all the rough end, framing, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. But we were wanting to see what kind of what cost would be to just put a building up and leave it standing if we wanted to do that and then work on it as we could. So I thought it was important for you to be able to see what the numbers are looking at now as compared to prior to.
That's a little not better.
Yeah, and I'll put that into perspective. I'll put that into perspective with the next document if there's no questions on those.
I have a question.
Sure.
The concrete portion of these, I love the clay Lovelace's quote over to the right. I don't understand the difference. You got quality masonry, 19 something. Mr. Lovelace has got two figures there. Is one material and labor and one just labor?
Yep. With quality masonry, that was his price with everything that he provided to who he was subbing, or he was providing his subcontract to a contractor for us. He provided me his original numbers, and his was everything. I had Clay who gave me his labor and rental price, which is the top number, the $6,300 for the rec department. And then the materials, and that's everything: concrete, formboards, gravel, rebar, poly, even spray. You know, we want to do our insect pre-treat for that's the materials. So his cost was quite a bit lower, $15,370, I think, roughly around. So that's why I've used that to put in the total amount, which is the same on the cemetery as well too. I would assume we would go, knowing that he's capable of doing the work, I would probably choose to go with him. Nothing against quality, but again, I would recommend going. I'm not a low bid guy necessarily. That's ultimately your decision. If I had a contractor I thought would do a little better job and was a little bit more, I would certainly recommend that. But I think Clay, I worked with Clay previously quite a bit, and he's perfectly capable of doing what he's priced.
There's a big difference in price.
Sure is. I'm looking at it. I'm supposed to get a third one as well too. I'm doing my best to understand it's a challenge to get 3 of everything. Yeah. In this little town. You got no tell you guys anything you want. But again, I wanted to put some more perspective. If you pull Renegade's quote, and it shows the one with the paperclip, it shows the date when I first approached him for our building, and we're just pricing 30 by 50. And I circled the date, I circled the time, the size, and as you look to the bottom of the document, you'll see the cost, $25,500 back in October of 19. Estimated delivery 12 to 15 weeks. The same company, same size building, almost exactly the same, with a date of just the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact. Up 38,800 and 30 to 36 weeks delivering it 2 years. So double the delivery lead time and about a 52% increase in cost, just from your pre to post COVID. Just as perspective, I thought I'd throw that. So we had some good news, and then I threw some bad news at you.
Did they tell you why it's such a big difference?
Yeah, everything, when the shutdown happened, they got behind. Now they're trying to promote their hardest to catch back up. So it's material costs and catching back up from how they got behind. Now I am expecting a quote through Western Builders, because they're a Kirby building manufacturer rep, which they're putting one up for the school. I went to a pre-construction meeting for the addition, and I'll get to that at my next item. So I'm waiting on a Kirby building quote from them, and then Aegis. I'm trying to get an Aegis quote as well, just to give us some perspective on how close they could possibly be. So we're pressing forward. I'm going to encourage. I look at those lead times. Once I get these quotes, and in May, I'd like to probably do it before the next Board of Elections meeting. I'll put together some emails and send to you. My recommendation would be, if we decide we like a price, let's order it. Let's get it on order. We could possibly get it sooner. I'm going to plan on getting it sooner. And then I can back plan to have all the site work done, utilities ready, and the concrete slab ready to go. The building arrives, and we have it put up. So I would encourage us to get 2 buildings on order just as soon as we possibly can. Again, let me finish getting the prices so I can get that out to you. Any questions on what I went over? At least you didn't throw anything at me, that's a good way you reach your floor. Okay. So a little bit about the school addition. We had a pre-construction meeting. We plan on breaking ground, doing the groundbreaking and notice to proceed on the 29th of this month, March. So that project will be underway here very shortly. I imagine they're going to get DR. You should see some construction going on with the metal building. They're putting a metal building up. That'll probably just the groundwork, the foundation work, and moving dirt will probably start, depending on this rain, it might start next week. You'll see that a little bit early, but official notice to proceed contract time will start on the 29th. And I will keep an eye on that project for you and report back every month progress and what's going on over there as well. There was some positives to Kirby and their timeline. It might be a little better than Renegade, I'm hoping, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed on that. There's no questions on that. I might wait. I don't know if Jacob wants to talk now or wait.
You want to stay in there?
Sure.
Okay.
I know you guys need to talk to the board about the lighting study and all of that.
Right. If you're looking, you've got a aerial of our football field. I think it kind of speaks for itself. You can look at the end zones for sure and see a big difference in the lighting. If you look at the attached sheet, it's got the readings that I think, Jason, I think you took, right? Jason Service and Accountability.
I was there representing Grant County because there was some question about the contractor, and I want to be just straight up. The contractor may have been the low bidder. I'm not sure of the process. I was kind of brought in, but he may have been the low bidder. But I was there to actually, not only did I read every single measurement that the lighting tech and his equipment took, I wrote them back. So I was there with the tech during the whole thing to witness it. And quite frankly, it's stunning, as Commissioner Milne said, but it also, each number matches exactly as you look at that drone overhead view.
So just to kind of give some perspective, the old standard was 30, the new standard is 50. I think we got 2 locations that we get the new standard, and I think they're pretty much directly under the pedestrian stop lights. It's the only 2 points that we met the new standard. I don't think that the need for this, in my opinion, is not just substandard, but it's also unsafe. The electrical lines that are overhead, we had a problem with them last week before our last football game. They had to get new power out there to work on. The equipment's old. It is unsafe. We talked about this before. I'll give you my opinion, my spiel. But we didn't make a decision on this today in order to make with that line a hopeful fall football season. Equipment needs to be ordered by our side.
Well, it's bad. I went to the game Friday night, and I don't have any doubts that at least they voted to drop taxes in the end zone because they couldn't see the ball coming. And sitting in the stadiums and knowing what that picture looked like, you can see it now. It's worse than it was 2 years ago by far. Yeah.
And I can tell you in those, almost in all those dark spots I had where it was lit better, I didn't have to, the equipment didn't have necessarily a bright backlight to read. I would literally have to get up close to read the equipment in the darkest areas. And now I know why I didn't get my college invite because of all the balls I dropped while I was playing.
Now, after all
How
these
many
years,
years ago was that?
Do we have to really go there?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So outside the contracted price, we would be responsible for getting that new cost associated with any unforeseen problems, laid conduit, rock, and whatnot. I mean, I really, I couldn't tell you what, whether we have any problem with the boiler or, getting, I personally believe $320,000 that's not be adequate. Okay, you may look ready on the financial. And,
Well, I was just looking at, give me just a second. Should have had this pulled up already. Looking at their sales tax trends on the school portion, it's looking like after we pay debt service, there'll be about $180,000 excess that could go toward this project. So there's well over half of it. And then, you know, with the fact that we've gotten more sales tax than we anticipated, well over what we anticipated, there's your balance right there.
And we're trending that way this year. We're trending that way this year, I think.
Yes, yeah, we're up 14% sales tax.
We wouldn't have to pay for anything until it's installed. So that's.
So it may even be next fiscal year.
It would be actually the summer installed, yes.
Yeah. So, you know, you can use the 524, which is earmarked for capital projects, capital improvements, which you have that excess, and then you can use your growth and sales tax. And that way you're not impacting property tax dollars at all, if you want to use that money.
I know it's expensive. I can't remember how many years old the ones we have are. I think if we do the metal building projects in-house, we save that money too. I would be in favor of it and doing it. Comes it's fair. That's just the reality of it.
I don't like to. Iron Man shutters that need to be fixed. I wish the school would have let us know a little earlier.
Yeah.
So we can do a little bit more fire for it instead of going that right last minute.
I expressed that to Mr. Manson, that we wish we had more time to consider.
So is yours motion to do it?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
You have nothing further from me, thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
And, I'd like to, want to say it to you, and I know I have to be a bit forward with this. Just as soon as he gets close on the vet buildings, I'd like to go in and get him started.
You know, the cost savings that we already have, show them.
Yeah.
That's going to be really good for us.
If it's further than a week out, I'll.
Yeah, that works for me.
So
Absolutely.
I will need, for the lights, I would need a budget amendment so that the order will have to occur before the next board meeting for $320,000 as a special appropriation for capital outlay. Then I can bring the final amendment to the board procedure.
Can we have this understanding that we appropriate that money, however, if it comes in under, that's full pay code.
Right.
No,
How long will these guarantee?
I will say 10 or 15 years.
There is a lease, yes. Should be a lot.
So the board could go ahead.
We have a budget amendment now. I'll make a motion.
Sorry.
All in favor?
And then for the buildings, when we get those estimates, the poll will also include a capital project ordinance that you'll need to approve as part of that. Okay? So we can, and I'll be there. Okay, just speaking of budget, we are beginning our budget meetings for department managers this week, starting tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And as you have been able to see from our budget, our department's been working hard to stay within that budget. And I've asked them also to look at salaries against the pay plan, to look at any needs that we had to shelve, because we did a wage freeze, and there are adjustments that need to be made, if possible, this fiscal year. And so I've asked them to look and also look for any needs that we had to shelve that are more than just, it's a want, it's something that we need to get done this fiscal year. I'll bring those back to you, probably when we're doing budget workshops. Scrap tire with sanitation. We had a complaint of what appears to be a scrap tire dump here in the county that's not permitted by the state. We had a state inspector come out, Lee Hill. He advised us that the county is responsible to see that the site is cleaned up if indeed the property owner does not have the appropriate permits. According to the inspector, there are between 600 and 1,000 tires at the location. The owner has two choices. They can use our facility at their expense, since they would not be a retailer. We can charge the owner our cost of processing the tires to the tire recycling center. That includes all their out-of-pocket costs, staff time, hauling costs, fuel, or they can choose to haul them to the center themselves at their expense. They're liable for all costs of disposal. I read the letter, sent it certified yesterday with return receipt requested. Under the law, they have 90 days to complete the cleanup. If they do not, then the county can enter that property and take the tires, remove them, and also charge the owner for our cost. And if that fee is not paid, then a lien can be placed on that property. So I've included all of the information in your packet in case you get questions. Transfer station. I think in February I emailed or sent out information related to new rules effective January 1, in which we have to have a professional engineer assess our site against our approved plans and against new regulations regarding buildings, parking, access roads, and leachate systems. This must be completed by June 30. So I have reached out to 3 professional engineering firms. If we're found to be out of compliance, we have a year to complete a corrective action plan and 3 years to make any capital improvements that are necessary. So I got 3 quotes. One was from MESCO, that's the municipal engineering services that we've used in years past. They've helped us to monitor the old landfill for $4,000. Withers Ravenel submitted a similar proposal for $4,000, and Draper Hayden Associates out of Cary, North Carolina, submitted a proposal for $43 million. So that being said, I got a tie, and I wanted to get the board's desire as to which engineering firm we would want to engage.
Meskin does the Wales.
They do. And they're also familiar with our transfer station and our system.
I like Meskin. They are willing to go to bat for us with the state. And I've seen them, and I've been there when they were doing it. So I like them.
So, y'all are good with MESCO? In that regard too, they're also working with the state on the plan that Commissioner Wiggins and I had together from Asheville about a little over a year ago in reference to those monitoring reports, and so they're working through that with us, for us. Then I also got an email just as I was getting ready to come in here from Gavin stating that DEQ is also tightening up their stormwater reporting. So we're gonna have to reach out and find out what all that entails, and NESCO can help us with that as well. Speaking of DEQ, they came out and inspected on, March 3rd, we passed, and I've attached that copy of the report for review. Some bad news is that sanitation shed continues to deteriorate rapidly. Gavin reported out that there's loose boards falling from the roof. Jason went out and inspected it. I think I put his email in. It's quite dangerous. I did speak with the owner, the co-owner of the shed. We own half, they own half. And he stated on the phone that he's willing to pay for a new shed, or pay for his half of the new shed if it be conjoined, or we could both demolish each side and then we could build our own shed. It's not going to be cheap. So that's something that Jason and I really need to be working on. Otherwise, it's a terrible safety issue.
Is that time we would donate that building that they promised to give the county, that land, then we would have to have a shed, because that building could be used for the shed.
Right. So I do have some more information in closed session related to this individual. Public buildings, we have a significant leak in the roof of the pool building. Gavin called Potts and Son Roofing, who do all our roofing, and they proposed to remove 14 feet of shingles, replace and install new roofing guard and ridge caps for a total of $1,123.50. The reason I'm bringing this to you is that the roof is probably 15 or 16 years old. We figured Commissioner might remember. It's when we did the pool party for the pool, right? Yeah. We can do the repair now, but I told Gavin that I wanted him to have him come and assess the roof, not just for the repair, but also the total condition of the roof. And also, if they did the work again, they should have records on it to tell us how many years roof that got purchased under that grant. So, we don't want to throw good money after bad, but I told him to get out there ASAP, have them come out ASAP, and then I can let you guys know.
Those shingles, it's shingle roof, correct?
Uh-huh.
They were picked by Deteriorate Commission that wanted that particular color. So we have a lot of controversy.
Yes.
Just because of the color.
Of the color, yeah.
And some hot consistency.
And we'll advise you as quick as we can answer, but we are, if the very least, we're looking at $1,123. Tax office and reval. Chris Harrison, the tax office, has hit the ground running with our reval. When the board met with him in December, it was discussed that the tax office hire a temporary worker so that Chris and Brandy can concentrate her time on learning to build her schedule of values and continue to clean up the scroll on the property records. The board at that time tentatively approved the position. However, because of the temporary nature of it, we would be obligated to provide insurance in retirement because the employment would extend beyond a year. We did research on that with the labor law and with elders. Especially on retirement end, your employee would get no benefit because they would only be on retirement 6 months. I researched, as I said, I researched this in labor law. Mr. Ferris proposed treating the worker as his employee, and we pay his firm an additional $28,000 for the worker for 2 years. And then this person would be full-time in the field with our other assistant. I costed this out, and for us to pay with the required benefits under the labor law, it would require a total cost of $35,000. So if the board is willing to add this temporary position, then I would recommend we pay it through our contract with CD Ferris Incorporated, and then that way we've got that person would not be our position, and also it would not just stay right into that permanent position. This money would come out of the rebound. So you have $14,000. It's, well, probably about 6,000 or 7,000 this year, and then the balance over the next 2 years.
Any motion?
Yes. Also, when you met with Chris back in December or January, it was discussed about the ortho imagery for our mapping. I checked in with our mapping director, and the latest photos we have are from 2019. These photos we have are free of charge and are done based on the state's timetable, so they're state files. Chris and Sean Garrison worked together to get a quote from Eagle View. Eagle View is being used by the surrounding counties, Cherokee and Swain. They can do high, medium, or low resolution, or a mix, and we can choose the areas where we want the higher resolution, obviously that being in your residential sections. The lowest resolution is $160 per square mile, and the higher is $360 per square mile. So that creates a range of costs between $48,000 and $109,000. The representative of the company is happy to come out and do a presentation for the board if that's your desire. This will allow us again to see new structures which have fallen off the radar and will add to our tax base. In addition, our public safety departments can make use of the imagery. And we can also add a feature called Sketch Catch, which will integrate with Vitek and flag parcels where there appears to be mismatches. And that'll also help us to keep our scroll cleaned up. So that's what we've been doing for the past year and a half, is just clean up all the mismatches. So I guess my question would be, would the board like for this company to come out and do a presentation before, and then we could budget in for next budget year? Or do you want to, I would personally like to get more information. I'd like to see it, and there is a handout in your packet